For a little context, I was in my sophomore year in the Appalachian Mountains. My class had about 70 people, so, as you can imagine, this is a tiny place, not really visitors or tourists, just woods and fields for farming. So one night, I'm asleep upstairs in my bedroom with my sister's room right across the hall. It's around 3:30 to 4 a.m. when I hear my mom calling my name, just loud enough to wake me up. I yell back, "What?" She keeps calling my name, so I get louder, "What?" She continues to call out, so I get up and turn my light on and walk out into the hallway. I had woken my sister up, and she asks me, "Why are you yelling?" I tell her, "Mom's hollering for me." She tells me, "Mom's not yelling for you. Go to bed." I'm confused, and I just go back to bed. Later that day, I asked my mom if she had yelled for me last night. She says no, and they all laughed about it, saying I was dreaming. But I had gotten up and turned my lights on. I was definitely awake. I knew what I had heard. Then, the weird stuff started happening. Tapping on my windows at night, stuff not being where I left it, hearing footsteps in the attic. A couple months after I'm driving home, around 12 at night, on a gravel, back road enclosed by woods. That's when I see it. About 7 feet tall, brown, skinny, and scraggly. Not exactly hairy, but just scraggly. It's kind of hard to explain. It was running towards my car, going the opposite direction of me. I slammed on my brakes, thinking I was going to hit it. At that point, I had no idea what it was. I was in pure shock. After a couple of days, I freaked myself out and my family. They took me to a spiritual medium, and what they told me was that it had attached itself to me because of some lines that go through our property. She did a cleansing on me right then and there and told me that it most likely wouldn't come back. Now it's 5 years later, and I still get creeped out and anxious about driving at night. The feeling like somebody or someone is watching me. I just hope it's gone, forever. Any advice you guys have is welcome. I'm looking to protect myself. Well, this happened not too long ago. I'm 22, and I live in a small house with a sliding back door that leads into my backyard. And every night, I let my dog out to go to the bathroom. This one night, my dog was barking at the back door. I had to put my ice cream down and walk to him. I said, "Hey, Rocky, what's wrong?" I got down to pat him. My dog is a full-grown husky, and he does bark at random shit, but not that much at night. I opened the back door, and Rocky ran out, and the light came back on. Before I shut the door, I heard whimpering and then yelping. I yelled out for Rocky, and he came running back inside. I shut the door and patted Rocky. He had a little scratch on his nose. I looked out the back door, and the light shined a little bit onto the grass. I saw a creature that looked like a dog or a dingo, but it was on its hind legs and looking at me. Its eyes were glowing a yellowish color, and then it just ran off into the night. I've never believed in skinwalkers before. I always thought they were fake, but here I am. I don't want to see that thing ever again. Also, Rocky is okay, aside from a small cut on his nose and being overall scared. He's fine though. Alright, so my friend and I the other day went to a haunted bridge nearby where we live. A lot of tragic death has taken place there, and it was pretty creepy. Basically nothing is around it, and it's in the middle of woods and a small beaten up dirt road. As my friend and I got out of the car, we immediately both said the energy was very heavy, and we both said it felt like we were being choked. We're both spiritual, and very intuitive people, so the fact we both told each other this at the same time made me feel like I wasn't just being crazy. We stood under the bridge, then climbed up the rough rocks, and went up to the bridge. Keep in mind, This is a small bridge with train tracks that's about 15 to 20 feet tall. As my friend and I got on the top of the bridge, we commented on how we felt like the air was hard to breathe, and that it felt dreadful being up there. A lady and her child were hit by a train where we stood. As I looked around while my friend was examining the area, about 15 feet away stood a deer in the middle of the train tracks, staring me dead in the eyes. Its eyes looked almost empty, and it just looked off. I've seen deer before. I live in the country. I've just never seen a deer like this before. This felt weird to me. We were being kind of loud, so it was weird that it wasn't spooked. I looked away, but to my horror, I noticed it staring at me still. As I told my friend to look, it started eating grass. My friend looked away, and I looked back. It was staring at me again. She notices this finally. We looked at each other in horror, as I said, "Is that what I think it could be?" We both agreed to leave. As we started walking down the small hill, it was still staring at me, no longer eating the grass. I then turned around to walk down the hill, but my friend who was at the bottom of the hill mentioned maybe we're just overthinking it. As I turned around, only a few seconds after we decided to leave, the deer was completely gone. I'm not sure how, as it was only about 2 to 3 seconds. Keep in mind, the woods was a large distance away from the train tracks, and I would have heard it run away. My friend and I decided to stay, as we thought maybe we were just overthinking it. As we climbed up the top of the hill, a man in a car drove under the bridge. We thought it was weird, because literally it's in the middle of nowhere, but we shrugged it off. Then he came back again, driving slowly under the bridge, staring at us. My friend and I got a bit creeped out, so we decided to head for my car, as we felt like a force was pushing us out from the bridge. As we started getting in the car, we noticed a man's car was slightly down the road, and someone was in there, just staring at us. I'm not entirely sure what to make of the situation. Something about all of it just seems off. The deer, the men in cars watching us. They all seem to have a similar vibe to them. Something is definitely wrong with this place. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love any explanation as to what's going on here.